Anderson,
I, Arden Anderson,
do solemnly swear to support
solemnly swear to support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of mayor
the duties of officer of mayor
of the city of East Bethel
of the city of East Bethel,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. Ready?
Do I raise my hand?
Yeah, raise your hand, right hand, and repeat after me. I, Suzanne Urkel,
I, Suzanne Urkel,
do solemnly swear to support
do solemnly swear to support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of City Council Member
the duties of the office of City Council Member
of the City of East Bethel
of the City of East Bethel
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. I, Brian Mundell,
I, Brian Mundell,
do solemnly swear to support
do solemnly swear to support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of City Council Member of
the duties of the office of the City Council Member
the City of East Bethel
of the City of East Bethel
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Bring the January 13th, 2025 meeting to order. All rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, or any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None being heard, motion passes. We don't have any presentations. Public forum. Ms. Gimple, you're up. Remind you, you only have 3 minutes.
Tammy Gimple, 22359 Baton Street, Northeast. I had a couple of things. I saw on the agenda that you had put in new liaisons for different things, and I had seen on the fire department that Brian Mundell was placed as liaison, and I would suggest that we keep Jim Smith there, because it's obvious there's some issues with the fire department, and Jim Smith was part of how would you put it? He already knows what's going on with a lot of things that are going on, and I just think that should continue, even with this council. It's the obligation of council to finish things that were going on and are going on. And I think even with new people, that should be continued. This is the job description for the fire chief. And the position title is Fire Chief Emergency Management Director. And council spent $10,000 hiring Jerry Strike to do up a report. And in that report, it stated that the emergency management needed to be done pretty much immediately. There was nothing in place, or what was in place wasn't sufficient. And since that report, nothing has been done. Nothing has been done to anything in the report. And now the review came up for the chief, and apparently there's, well, it looks like we might have spent more money now because it was stated that Jerry Strike was gonna be hired to do a performance plan. So I'm also curious how much money that's gonna cost us. And I think that's pretty much it. I think that Jim should stay in as liaison, and I think that stuff needs to be finished. And it's obvious there's some stuff going on with the fire department. I'd like to see that taken care of this year, even with this new council.
Thank you. Your
Thank you.
comments
Thank
and thoughts are taken. Dean?
Good evening, Mayor Anderson, council members, and staff, and congratulations to the newly elected officials. I'm Dean Ealing, live on Monroe Street. I spoke at 2 public forums last year concerning issues in connection with the city's tax increment financing of buildings that constitute the East Bethel Village Apartments. I commented then that on July 20th, 2020, the East Bethel City Council approved a resolution authorizing phase 2 of the project to build a second 70-unit apartment building. Now, for clarification, Mr. Look was not the city administrator during any of this. The 2020 City Council and the city administrator at that time were informed 1 week earlier, on July 13th, 2020, by Eller's Public Finance Advisors that 20% of the units in the building would be made affordable to low-income families in our city. That has not happened. All units in both buildings are currently offered at market rate rental fees and have been since they opened. This has been verified to me by the development's property manager. Now, that is a summary of what I reported to the council last year. Tonight, I have additional information to share with you that I obtained through a public records request. One of the documents I obtained is the developer's agreement that accompanied the resolution adopted by the council. The pertinent portion of that agreement states that at least 20% of the residential units in the project must be occupied or available for occupancy by persons whose incomes do not exceed 50% of the county median income. That is quite different than stating that at least 20% of the units would be affordable to persons at below 50% of the area median income, as was stated in the July 13, 2020 memo from Ellers. A second public document I obtained is the annual compliance report for 2023. It was submitted by INH Properties, the management agent for the owner, and states that it is certified under penalty of perjury. It shows that 2 of the designated low-income units in Building 1 were actually occupied by 2 of the management agent's employees. One was the property manager, the other was the assistant manager. The manager's gross income is listed on that compliance report as $33,500 for 10 months. If extrapolated out over 12 months, it would be $40,200. The annual gross income of the assistant manager was listed as $48,400. Now, there may be a logical explanation as to why the gross income of the assistant manager was more than her boss, but I can't come up with one. According to the website ZipRecruiter, the average salary
for property managers in our area is $58,539, $18,339 more than the estimated gross income of the manager of the East Bethel facility. The management agent is asking you to believe that the two top people managing its $24 million apartment complex qualify for low-income housing. A statement at the bottom of the compliance report says that the gross income figure has been fully and accurately documented by the resident's income certification and is available for review. It also states that the method of determining income was made in compliance with IRS Revenue Code. Coastline Equity, a property management company specializing in multifamily properties, advises on its website that housing benefits provided to an on-site manager are considered non-cash compensation and must be reported as taxable income. Since I started to look into this, I've come up with more questions than answers. Question number one, and I'm getting near the end. How and why did the management agent place two of its own employees into apartments that are designated for low-income families? And how much rent did they pay? And these questions are not for anyone in particular. Question two, are there any other employees of the agent listed on compliance report as occupying low-income units? If so, how much rent did they pay? Number three, has any city or county official asked the agent to produce the supporting documents used to create the compliance report? And have they asked the IRS to review those documents? If so, have they been reviewed and what are the results? Number four, why did the city administrator who signed off on the resolution and the developer's agreement not advise the city council that the developer's agreement contained no language requiring that the units be made affordable, as spelled out in his July 13th memo he received from Ehlers just 1 week before the city council voted? Number five, why was the city council not told by Ehlers that the developer's agreement, which it prepared, contained no language requiring the units be made affordable? Number six, and to make things even more confusing, on February 14th, 2024, Ehlers advised East Bethel Financial Director Mike Jaworski via email, quote, the developer is not required to offer units at an affordable rate, only required to have 20% of the units occupied by persons at or below 50% of the AMI. To me, the obvious question is, what happened between the July 13th, 2020 Ehlers memo and the February 14th, 2024 Ehlers email to convince Ehlers to contradict its own opinion? And lastly, two questions for the owner of East Bethel Village Apartments. Number one, will you comply with the original intent of the city of East Bethel and make 20% of your apartment units in both buildings affordable, not just available, to low-income families beginning February 1st, 2025? Number two, will you refund to the affected tenants all of the excess rent collected plus interest since the facility's open? The amount of excess rent we are talking about here is substantial. According to my estimate, utilizing data from that East Bethel Village 2 compliance report for 2022 and data from rentcafe.com, the total amount of excess rent collected by the owner in 2022 for Building 2 was $86,688. That could buy a lot of groceries for a low-income family. And that figure is for one building for 1 year. Minnesotans believe in plain, straight talk. They don't like to be misled. They also believe in helping those who are less fortunate than they. Two previous city councils voted to do just that when they approved resolutions paving the way for construction of what they were led to believe would be affordable housing for at least 28 low-income families in our city. As of tonight, the number of affordable units for low-income families at East Bethel Village Apartments stands at 0. I ask of this council that you do whatever you can to ensure that the efforts of your predecessors were not in vain. If you have any questions or would like to review the documents I have, I am available to meet with you at your convenience, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dean, for your
Yeah.
concerns and comments. Okay, item 6, consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. I would like to pull item H. Anybody else?
I'd like to pull item F, G, and I, please.
I want to pull C and F and G.
Any further discussion?
Well, I wanted to pull H, but it's already been pulled.
Mayor, if I could be heard, I believe B, meeting minutes for December 23rd, 2024, if I could ask that be pulled as well.
What do we got left?
I don't know, I tried to keep track and I failed.
Mr. Mayor, we have D and E, and and that's the two I think that haven't been. J, I will note, Mr. Mayor, is on page 57. I'll go to it here. Oh, I'm sorry, it'd be page 3. There was it says city council meeting minutes, but it's not meeting minutes, so that's the only change on J. This is actually setting meeting times for the local Board of Appeals and Equalization. So copy and paste typo there, unfortunately. So that portion, city council meeting minutes needs to be, need to strike that from that item J.
Okay, with that said, all in favor with amendments not being approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those not amended will pass. And go down the order here, so. Everything but you said
D and E.
D and E, so A. Who wanted that?
Did we miss A or was that approved? Oh,
A and B are approved.
I don't think there was a question on it. My apologies.
Okay,
So A should be fine.
Aye.
We can approve that in the next vote.
okay, B. That was approved or not?
No,
No, that's
Okay.
Attorney Larson.
Mayor, thank you for that accommodation. So in looking over the meeting minutes for December 23rd of 2024, on page 7 of 8 of the meeting minutes, which in the packet is page 15, I would ask that line 31 be deleted. Line 31 is part of a statement that was made by myself as the city attorney right after this council reconvened after the closed session. And that says, line 31 says that with that being said, comma, Mr. Mayor, comma, that concludes the summary report required. One, I'm fairly confident I did not say that. Two, that is not the summary report. The summary report follows by the then Mayor Lewis. So with that, I am requesting that line 31 be struck in its entirety as not an accurate statement of the minutes of December 23rd of 2024.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes with the change recommended by the city attorney.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. All right. Back up deal here. C.
I pulled C. I'd suggest to the council that we have a choice of the newspapers. One's the Anoka County Herald, and the other one's Isani-Chisago Star. I would suggest that we pick the Isani-Chisago Star. They're charging $3.35 per column, where Anoka County Herald is charging $11 per column. So, to save the residents money when we do need a paper to advertise in. So that's my suggestion.
Do
I
any,
second that.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that as a motion.
I second that.
Discussion?
how many of our residents get the Chicago County Star?
We don't have a count on that. It's a free newspaper, Mr. Mayor. The Anoka County Union Herald is not a free newspaper, so depending on who gets it, I'm not sure. What we go off of is the distribution numbers that they have, and there's a minimum threshold that they have to have. I believe it's 5,000, if I'm not mistaken, last time I recall voting on this about a year or so ago. But they meet that requirement, which is what's required by law.
Okay.
Or both meet that
Wh-
requirement, I should say.
Where do they distribute? Are these available in the local gas stations?
No,
I've never read one.
neither one are. Closest Anoka
Oh.
Union is
But
Kings County Market.
I know the Herald is at, I'm pretty sure it's the Herald that's available at Cooper's.
It used to be, I've never seen it there lately. Till
Yeah.
once the new owner took over there, it disappeared.
I think they're both online, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'd like to make sure that our residents would have availability to it. Since one is in our county and one isn't.
Any other discussion? We have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, item F.
Can I combine F and G? I just want to thank our Mayor Kevin Lewis and Councilmember Bob DeRoche. They worked really hard. They did their real true diligence in studying stuff and preparing and looking out for the residents. And that is seen by the so many variances that they passed in the past. So I just want to give them my personal thanks. I know they're watching, so I appreciate everything you did for our residents in the last 4 years. Thank you.
I agree with what Suzanne said. It was a pleasure to be working with Kevin and Bob. They both have a lot of knowledge of the city, and they care about the residents, the businesses, and the city itself. And they applied themselves, and they did their homework on a lot of stuff. There was no guessing, and it was just a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate both of them. Thank you.
Feel the same way. Thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve F and G.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H. I'm pulling this one, shouldn't this come as a proposal to us before we sign a contract so we know what we're looking at and council approved it? To make, that put you out to solicit to this?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, the question,
Question is, since this been put to us for direction to go out and solicit before we get the contract thrown right at us?
well, Mr. Mayor, what I will say to that is that, we were somewhat surprised with Aaron deciding to leave the city. There's some unsettled business that is time sensitive. As council and mayor know, when a permit comes in, we have 60 days essentially to respond to that. And so there's some backlogged, just today I spoke with somebody else that was hoping to be on tonight's agenda, and I wasn't even aware of the final plat that they were hoping to have on there. So essentially what this is a contract service based on hourly. There was some concern of, cancellation, and that is written in there as a 7-day cancellation if need be. But again, it's very much like, if I could say, very much like our city attorney, where based on what comes up, we contract with them on an hourly basis to provide legal service. This would be planning service. And we have tried since August now to find a planner. We had 3 applicants, none of which were qualified. And I'll just say that to be a planner these days is a 4-year degree with a certificate. And it takes a lot of knowledge on how to prepare these packets and make them happen. Bring them before planning, ultimately bring them before city council for approval at that point. And so what this does is it buys us a little bit of time and gives us an opportunity. Some cities contract out their entire planning, some hire. We had a practice of hiring somebody that could do it, although that person didn't have a 4-year degree or a certificate in that. And so this is somewhat of a opportunity, I think, to catch up on some backlog. The prior council, and perhaps this council, is still interested in having our code looked at, making sure it's meeting all of our needs and still the best management practice. And that would be something that they'd be working on as well. But as far as the cost, it's going to be very similar cost to what we were paying for Aaron's position, very similar to what a planner would be hired for. We have both of them here this evening, two individuals here this evening that can answer any questions on this. And again, I think we're in a position where we need to do something, and this is a contract scenario that gives us some flexibility right now.
Okay, with that said now, are we gonna be advertising for another community development director?
That'll be a decision that the council can make. We'll bring it back to you in the form of a work session or gain some consensus on that. We can certainly test the waters. What I will say is that we've advertised in multiple locations. We've even approached colleges that have these degrees, and we just haven't found anybody. I think one of the issue is that the dollar figure we were hiring at, it may not be competitive with the marketplace. The other is proximity. If you have planners that are more centrally located in Minneapolis or somewhere in that vicinity, it's quite a drive to get out to East Bethel and may not be on their top list of communities to work for. So that can be a challenge to try and recruit somebody at that point. But we're certainly willing to test waters and see who's out there. This is not for community development, so that's still an unanswered question for the city, and that's a decision that you guys will get to make in terms of what are our current community development needs. How do we account for that?
Okay, so this contract's for 20 hours a week, right?
Well, it was initially estimated that we would, coming up to speed on everything, it would take 20 hours a week. There's some belief that that based on kind of reviewing prior planning commissions and prior zoning requests and variances and that it would be about a 20-hour-a-week position. We are hiring for 40 hours a week, but if they can do it in 20 hours, I think we'd be, that would be a positive thing. But again, that's going to depend on what they find. If the code is completely discombobulated and needs to be rewritten and kind of categorized and organized, that may take some time to do so. But
So they'll be answering all the zoning and planning questions?
Yes, so they'll be in the office one day a week. They'll be able to meet with people that need to meet. Otherwise, they'll be working remotely. All the emails will be going to them with zoning questions, and they'll be handling that. And of the permits that are coming forward, they'll be preparing the packets for planning. They'll be presenting to planning, and then as that comes to city council, they'll be presenting there as well.
Okay, final question. How are we gonna handle code enforcement with this?
They do not provide code enforcement. We have two individuals in the office right now that are kind of handling code enforcement, but thankfully right now is not a busy time for code enforcement.
Okay.
As we get into the springtime and snow uncovers things, you know, we generally see an uptick in those calls that come in. Or we are a complaint-based community, so that might be another question for how do we, you know, do we contract that out as well? That might be an option too, rather than hiring somebody.
I have some questions on this. Aaron Berg resigned on December 20th. So why wouldn't right then you put out a request for a proposal for this kind of contract and not just pick one? Or was there a request for a proposal and these are the people who came in?
Mr. Chair and Councilmember Urkel, if we had put out a request for proposal, we still wouldn't have that information back. There were three individuals that I contacted. Landform was one of them. There was another lady and another gentleman, and the lady was not able to take on 20 hours of work. In other words, she didn't have that capacity. The other gentleman didn't return a phone call. And after speaking with the lady, it was clear that that with turnover in cities and kind of lack of available talent that's out there, these contract people are very busy filling in the gap, if you will. And so there's, you know, we could certainly have done that. It just would have taken a little bit longer to do that. And given the fact that we have, as of this evening, we need to, on Wednesday, we need to have things in motion for to meet the current 60-day on a project already.
But those 60 days can be extended for another 60 days, isn't that correct?
That's a voluntary extension. It's not an extension if they don't grant that. But this particular individual needed, they're moving some rams to land that they're renting for grazing purposes, and they want to separate them. I don't understand the animal husbandry part of it, but they need to separate them before springtime, and time is of the essence on that particular one.
And there's nobody that's currently in the staffing that can handle that particular issue?
Nope.
That seems like one issue. And why is that? That you can't handle it?
No, I was not a planner. I did not do planning work, and as I indicated, it is, you know, the requirement to be a planner is pretty extensive. So making sure that you follow all the legal requirements of a planner, making sure that it's filed properly with the county. Once approved, it's involved. It's quite involved.
So then my next question is, are we hiring all three of the people that were in this packet, or are we hiring just one?
Just the one. Just Landform is a recommendation.
So it's a company, but there's three people. And I was looking at the total cost of it, and for 20 hours a week, if you add it up, it comes to like $200,000 a year, which is more than what Mr. Berg was making in the first place. So I don't really see it as a savings because we're paying them more and we're getting less time.
I don't know if they want to speak to that. Is that all right, Mr. Mayor, if she approaches?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Excuse me. My name is Kendra Lindahl. I'm with Landform Professional Services, and we are a consulting firm based out of Minneapolis. This is what we do. We're working for a number of cities that are in the same position you are as City Administrator Look indicated, it's very hard to find qualified staff today, whether you're a private firm like myself or a city. And so we serve cities coming in either as an interim solution or to support their planning staff. In our packet, we identified a number of the cities that we work in. So we are able to be, I think, particularly efficient with our time. This is what we do. But it would be different members of my team, as I've met with City Administrator Look and Councilmember Smith to talk about this. I would be the person in a city hall. I have 30 years of experience as a city planner, so I can hit the ground running. But it's my intention to use other colleagues. With me tonight is Kevin Shea. He leads the planning studio with me. And we have another planner, Zeke Peters, who we would use for some of the day-to-day planning issues at a lower rate. So on average, at 20 hours a week, it is $12,000 to $14,000 a month, depending on who's working on the projects. But we feel confident that with 20 hours a week, based on what I've seen in the packets, we can answer questions for residents and keep the planning applications moving within the 60-day time clock that's required under state law. So happy to answer any more specific questions, but we certainly understand that cities like our firm have budgets. We're sensitive to that, to being as efficient as possible while getting the job done.
Any questions for her? What is the intent here for length of time?
Well, Mr. Mayor and Council, that'd be a question as to when we'd be able to hire someone full-time, if we can find somebody.
Well, between the two things here, yeah. Length of time, we're going to put this contract out for.
For the contract?
With our due diligence of looking to get somebody in place.
Well, again, it's an hourly based contract. There's a cancellation of 7 days if we want to cancel. So let's assume that we were successful in finding a candidate to fill the position. We would notify them. 7 days later, the contract would be done. Again, it's relative to how many hours they're going to be spending, and that's relative to how many variances and, plats and things like that are coming forward.
Okay.
So if they don't have a full 20 hours a week, because I'm like, well, it's winter. We don't really have that much going on in the winter time, right? Or not as much as spring, summer, fall. We wouldn't be paying them. Are we paying them for 20 hours no matter what, or are we paying them for what we actually get? That's my question.
It is not a fixed hourly amount, but they're estimating that it would be 20 hours
Okay.
a week. 8 hours of that would be in office, so opportunity to meet with clients. The other 12 hours would be estimated as how many emails did they receive, how many responses did they have to make, how many packets did they prepare, those sorts of things.
Okay, and then one other question is, where do we post all these city administrator, community director jobs at? Is it just in East Bethel? Are we using Indeed? Are we using LinkedIn? Are we using all these other great sites to advertise these positions?
Mr. Mayor and Council, we use a city website. We use the website for the League of Minnesota Cities, which is a common area where people will go to find these type of jobs. We use the East Bethel Chamber job site. We use social media, and we've contacted colleges that would be producing students and have a vested interest in placing students, for their success rates.
And I brought those other two up because somebody who said they would have applied if they had seen this job goes to LinkedIn and Indeed, and there's another online one. I can't think of what it is. But so I think we need to expand our advertising postings. So that's all I have.
I have a question about this. Going through the contract, I'd like to hear from our city attorney. There was some language in there, I wasn't real sure about if we were gonna get caught with a contract that was going to allow us to hire someone, but would we still be paying more for someone? So would we be paying double for a position? Which led me to believe that maybe a 30-day termination of contract would be required to be written in that. What do you think?
So, Mayor, council members, there are two aspects to this contract that I do think need to have an attorney review. So I would suggest that if you approve this contract, that it be subject to city attorney approved as to form. For example, the termination does have 7 days, but it's based upon whether a party fails to perform. I don't want to have that as an open question, so at minimum, I would conclude that regardless of failure or non-failure to perform, that either party has the right to terminate for any cause within 30 days. At minimum. The second is that if there is any dispute, the venue would be in Ramsey County while you're contracting with a city that's located in Anoka County. As your city attorney, all your contracts, I've embedded that the venue for any dispute is going to be Anoka County because that's where they're doing business. With respect to the other aspects, though, it is an hourly as your city administrator and as the landform individual had indicated. And I will also want to underscore that by statute, under Minnesota Statutes 15.99, any particular land use application, you have to, if it's incomplete, you have to deny within 10 days. There is a level of expertise that is involved in there. And then, of course, you've heard about the 60 and the 120 day. So I do see this as really kind of for the city's needs, at least a placeholder until you can find if there is a different entity or an individual in-house that you need for these land use services, but at least it makes sense to retain at least some individual or firm to take care of the zoning needs of the city as of the present and into the future. With that, again, to restate, if you are going to approve this, I would ask that you have that subject to a review and approval as to form by your city attorney.
Yeah, and now I'm a little confused because Mr. Look was saying 7 days and now you're coming up with 30 days. So what is it? Is it 7 days we can end it for any reason, or is it 30 days we need to give?
You know, that's why you have a city attorney is we can nuance all of this. I will make sure that you have the protections that it can be terminated in the best interests of the city. Okay.
I do have another question too. Someone had mentioned 3 bids on this. Do we have to have 3 bids
No.
that come in just, we can contact like we did?
So, I mean, it was very good of your city administrator to solicit in at least 3. That's a very good customary practice, but for professional services, it is not required.
So Kendra, I got a question. So what you've heard so far, so the 30-day termination, would you guys be okay with that?
Mr. Mayor, council member, absolutely. I've used this contract in dozens of cities. I'm very comfortable with it, but I also know city attorneys, and they like to tweak it once in a while, so we've done that. I have no problem working with your city attorney to make those adjustments. I'm here to serve you, so if it's not working, you can go ahead and make a change, and we've never had an issue doing that and stepping aside and transitioning. So I'm very comfortable working with your city attorney to tweak the terms of the contract.
Okay, thank you.
So with that said, do we want to table this till we got the right contract?
Mr. Mayor, I would, given the timeframes that we're up against here, I would say we need them up and running as soon as possible. If the approval was made contingent on a city attorney review and agreement, then I think that would suffice.
Okay.
So if the time is of the essence, can you get this done quick, Eric, for her?
No problem.
Okay,
This one's easy.
okay.
Any further discussion? Okay. Motion to approve this with the extension on the termination of the contract with the city attorney and Landmark getting together. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item I.
Oh, I pulled item I because I want to abstain because I wasn't present at that meeting.
Make a motion to approve item I.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
I abstain. Item J.
I don't think it was pulled.
Okay, we're through that.
It was just corrected.
if I can make a comment on that for Mr. Look, I do know that, at least two council members need to be trained for that meeting.
Yeah, I
Can
will.
you review that and
Yeah.
let council know who is trained and who needs to be trained?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm going to bring that up under the staff reports and give some more details on that.
Right.
Mr. Mayor and council, I don't think the record was clear. We have, D and E was clearly passed, but it appeared that maybe A and J might have been pulled. I would recommend that there be a motion to approve A and J as well, just so that it's very clear that those particular agenda items on the consent agenda have been approved by this council.
I'll make a motion to approve items A and J on the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Let's see here. Looks like we're down to 8G.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, on this particular item, there's assignments of city council persons to commissions, committees, authorities, WMOs, and other public advisory boards as liaisons or members recommended by yourself and confirmed by the city council. I have included in here your recommendations, and I have included at your desk an alternate option as well that Councilmember Smith wanted presented. And so essentially, this might be a little bit of discussion in terms of, you know, if everyone's willing to serve in those capacities, or as it, you know, last year was the same way. There was a little bit of discussion and making of sausage, as we say. But at any rate, it is before you for appointments.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the alternate commission's report because I think we need consistency in these positions. For instance, I want to stay on the Airport Blaine Commission because I'm the chair of that. I think the 65 Coalition needs to keep their same people. But I would like to consider adding a commission with the seniors group and putting me on there because I go to every single one of those meetings and I think they need a liaison, somebody that can report what they're up to and so that the community can know more about what's going on there. So that's my motion, to accept the alternate and add the seniors.
Have a second?
Second that with one exception to that, Brian and I are not on the SRW. I am on the upper RUM. We weren't on it last year. I think that was a misprint in here. That Brian keeps that and I keep the upper RUM.
That came up as when we reviewed the JPA, it was figured out that the city could have a second.
Okay.
And that's where you took on that secondary role. That's why it's.
Is that an alternative then?
Yeah,
In
alternative,
case you can't make it, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm familiar with the watershed stuff.
Yeah, that's how it came up and that's where it came from.
Right there.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have it up on the screen here. I've got your recommendations here for 2025, Councilmember Smith's recommendations for 2025, and compared to 2024.
Well, you know, I put what I want out there, and that's what I was hoping to get. As far as the fire, I believe, or as far as all of these, typically in the past, we've rotated council members through all the commissions. So during their 4-year periods, they get to a look at all the different commissions. I think it's kind of toxic at the fire station with Mr. Smith there. And as even said in the strike report that that was one of the main deals, that he had not been showing up and supporting them. So I don't believe that is a good fit for fire. So I can't support this.
Let's call the question. Let's vote.
Okay. Motion's been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. Motion passes. Yeah. Item 9, staff reports.
Mr. Mayor, council members, just wanted to touch base on that Board of Appeals training. I think Councilmember Miller, did you take the training at one point? I can't recall if you had said he did. Okay, perhaps that was somebody else. But anyways, the only one that was trained before was Mayor Lewis. So we will need to have at least one. But I think Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Smith had indicated interest at one point in training. I don't know if that's still the case, but it's open to anyone and it's no charge. But once you finish it, you go on a roster, and that meets the qualifications. Now, prior council decided that they wanted to conduct the Board of Appeals here in East Bethel versus having the county conduct it. And by doing so, then triggers the need to have training of the individuals here, at least one, by law. So if somebody wants to indicate their interest.
I'll go.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's just an online thing, so.
it's an online deal. Yes,
So
sir.
just send out an email to everybody and with the link, and
Okay.
we can get her done.
Yeah, I have no problem doing it either.
Okay. And that is all I have for an update, Mr. Mayor.
Can I ask you a question about the LBAE? That date of April 28th is before the counties, right? Because if they come here, they're still able to go to the county and appeal the
Yes,
decisions here.
that is
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Thank you.
And we generally have the county, because we're contracting with the county now for assessment services. Alex Guggenberger, who is sharp guy, sharp individual, he'll be here that evening, and generally we'll walk through things with people if they have any concerns. Very helpful to help settle those concerns that evening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
Any others? Any other staff reports? With none being heard, motion to adjourn.
Oh, council reports.
Oh, council, okay. Council reports, I guess.
I do have something from the Sunrise River Water Management Organization. Some really good news. The ACD did secure a grant for $221,000, 375. So that's a hefty grant, and that will be used to restore wetland along what's called Ditch 20, and will benefit Typel and Martin Lake water qualities. Ditch 20 is a drainage ditch that leads into ditch 13, that then leads into Typel Lake. Typel Lake then leads into Martin Lake. Martin Lake leads into Sunrise. Sunrise goes to St. Croix River. So all of that will be improved by this project. And essentially, it takes a section of the drainage ditch, and the drainage ditch goes straight. They dig out a section over here so that part of the water comes out and gives an opportunity for settlements to settle. So that's very good news from that aspect. We discussed the budget for 2026. And we will be presented with final versions at our next meeting. Essentially, we should be able to come in at or below this last year's budget, or this year's budget. So that's good news. But with the 10-year plan that we have coming up and working on through 2027 to 2029, those budgets may increase to $60,000. Right now, we're at 50 to 55,000. So we're looking at how we can make allowance for that, but the 10-year plan is a required plan for both the Sunrise River and the Upper Rum. Needs to be done every 10 years. There's no getting around it. So just they want to communicate that there are probably going to be anticipated increases in the 2027 to 29 budgets. And that's all I have.
Can I interject? Would you be able to send all the council a copy of what they're planning to do with that grant? The plans for it, because I think that is really good news, and I really would like to maybe even broadcast it out if I could.
Yeah, I can get you that.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
That closes the meeting. Thank you.
We have to vote.
Oh, all in favor?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
Opposed?